And man, I fumbled that one. So stupid. It's so stupid from my perspective. I was even like moving and I was like, man, this guy can't hit me. You never want to think that. You never want to get too safe in a fight.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
The first thing I want to get into is Superlek. Superlek made a visit. Come on, man. Let's talk about that. If anybody knows about Muay Thai, Superlek is a legend.
So yeah, I got to give 110% credit to my boy Ricky Tercios, Ultimate Fighter champ. Yo Cal, the owner of the brand, cool dude, Muay Thai guy, hit him up and they were like, hey, Superlek's coming to the States. He's meeting with some fighters. We'd like to sponsor you. And Ricky was like, man, come on down to my gym. Me and my boy Alex, run this gym together. So, man, Superlek came through. They hooked up with some gear. They hooked up some gear to some of my amateur Muay Thai fighters, Coach Matt Wall, his guys, my striking coach's guys. And we got to train with Superlek. It was awesome, man. He didn't speak much English. We got to share techniques, do some MMA rounds, do some Thai rounds. Dude, it was a blast, man. Coach Matt held pads for him. Dude, it was cool. That man can kick.
Yeah. He's the kicking machine. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's known for, right?
Yeah, that was cool. It was just cool. And then, even talking to the Yokow guy, he had given me some, prototype MMA sparring gloves. And I love them. I gave him some feedback. They were great. It was just cool. It was cool. And they invited us to Thailand. And I told them I'm going to take them up on that trip.
Yeah, that's a cool little, I guess, connection that you got now back to Muay Thai. Cool. May 13th, man, Charlotte, North Carolina. Tim Means. He's a 26-fight UFC veteran. That is insane, man. Not many guys will last that long in that promotion. Thoughts on him and the style that he brings to the cage?
Yeah, the Dirty Bird. Actually, man, a guy I really enjoy watching. He's just violent. He was in the UFC. He got cut. He actually fought in Legacy in Houston. He fought one of H-Town's big prospects back in the day. And, the winner of that fight gets signed to the UFC. He won it. He got signed. I've watched pretty much all of his fights ever since. And then right during the COVID lockdown, I figured we'd get matched up. I mean, they were just running through these fights. I was down to stay active, and I was just waiting. I was waiting for his name in that email, and sure enough, this most recent time it popped up, and I was ready for it. Plus, man, I actually like fighting southpaws. I've only fought 2 in the UFC, and this is my 18th fight. So it's nice to fight a dirty left-handed fighter. So it'll be cool.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, man. On paper, just from watching you guys fight, Tim Means is more of a wrestler that enjoys the striking aspects, and you're more of a grappler that enjoys the striking. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, man. He's a wrestling coach who likes to strike. I'm a jiu-jitsu coach who likes to strike. I do expect some grappling. If he initiates it, I'm ready to rock and roll. I actually do more wrestling and jiu-jitsu than I do anything else just by trade. I mean, I run a Gracie Baja and do a lot of wrestling action. Most all of my amateur MMA fighters, and even now the guys going pro, are all wrestlers. So, I mean, we do a lot of wrestling. The guys at Fortis I train with, a lot of them really heavy wrestlers. And then even a guy like Jeff Neal, who not is a wrestler by trade, he's a striker, got incredibly good takedowns and takedown defense. So, I mean, I've been getting my grappling in.
When you look at certain wrestlers, right, that come into the sport that is more focused on defensive wrestling more because they want to strike, do you feel like they're just limiting themselves to a whole other ways of finishing fights? Because it seems like that way. Because when you look at someone like Gilbert Burns, he can wrestle, but he also can throw in submissions as well, and he's very good at it. It gives him a lot of options.
And man, honestly, Burns' striking is solid too. He's become one of those guys. Even Usman, even Woodley, as wrestlers or grapplers, they learn how to throw hands. But no, Burns has a really cool dynamic because even the way he beat Wonder Boy, he utilized more wrestling than anything. But the way he beats most other guys is with his jiu-jitsu, when he fought Neil Magny. But no, I think that's a great point. Even Jeff was I could wrestle. I'm like, dude, I know you can. I don't know why you don't. But to me, everyone they're like, why don't you grapple more in your fights? And there's just a love for striking, and for me, there's a completion, there's a victory factor for knocking guys out, for putting hands on them, and to me, that's the most complete way to fight. I don't know how to explain it, but it's going to take a lot of encouraging to make me change my mind. So, I mean, I'll use whatever. I've hit some takedowns before, but man, Lord knows I love to land good punches.
Tim Means, man, he's fought everybody. His last fight was against Max Griffin, a split decision loss. What did you dissect from that matchup?
It shouldn't have been a split. I think Tim knew that because like when they were reading it, he was even shaking his head and shaking his head and pointing to Max. Um, honestly, it was a good fight. They both had their moments. Max landed the better of the shots on the feet. They had some really good wrestling exchanges. Griffin had a little more top control time. It was a good scrap. It looked like two skilled veterans fighting. I think Max just got the better of him in a couple exchanges and ultimately got him the nod. But I mean, that was a good scrap. I had fought Max as well. We had I guess a close fight. I had won a unanimous decision, but in the second round, I almost put him away. That was the most notable moment of the fight by far. And then, like in the third, he had used some wrestling to score some takedowns, but did no damage on top at all. So that's a good little. You're only as good as your last fight. So I'm assuming he watched my Pons fight as his tape. I watched the Max Griffin fight, and to be fair, I saw all of his previous fights. But yeah, I think Griffin did a good job in that fight. Max has actually come alive at the second half of his career. He's got matched up with Michael Morales. That's a really fun fight to watch as well. I was hoping to fight Youngblood, but in due time.
Yeah, exactly. In due time. When you look at events now, UFC shows every week. There's a show every week, so you get to watch so many fights, and you get to watch the fights and how they go to the judges and the inconsistency of judging. Is that something that shines on you? You know what I mean, and your team, and maybe even bleeds into preparation?
Dude, I'm in Texas. We got some of the wackiest, inconsistent judging in the U.S., man. And I do commentary for Fury. So, I mean, I sit cage side. I watch a lot of fights. Thankfully, it has gotten better. Like, there's a brown belt at my gym who is a judge on the commission. Jeff Rexford, he's a black belt. He and I fought as pros. He's a ref and a judge. Joe Solis, a black belt. So there are quite a few martial artists now, but you still have these like old boxing judges who just, man, it's weird. So they have made a bit of a shift. They value damage more than control, which is cool, which is something I like. That's how Vegas has kind of been for a while. But it is inconsistent, man. So, we just tell our guys, try not to leave it to the judges. And like even in the UFC, man, I only had one decision going into the UFC with 10 finishes. And now I got more decisions than anything. So it's hard to put these guys away, but I mean, you got to do your best, know the game, the coaches help. That's why it's so imperative I have Coach Safe in there with me, letting me know exactly where the fight's at. And then Coach Matt and myself, when we corner our guys, we learn from him, and we just try to leave no stone unturned. But I mean, that's a factor, sometimes out of our hands, but for the most part, we don't struggle too much with that.
Your last fight against Santiago Ponzinibbio, man, the first 2 rounds you were looking excellent. You know what I mean? Like you hurt him a few times, it seemed like. And going back to the judging, do you feel like when you hurt your opponent, that should count as much more? And especially if you are dominating the fight as well, like dominating the round. You know what I mean? Like there's not enough 10-8s, right? In MMA.
Yeah, true. Like in kickboxing or boxing, you drop a dude and get an 8 count, bang, that's a 10-8 round. Unless they drop you back, then whatever. But yeah, so like I feel like I won the first 2 rounds super handedly with Pons. Even in the third round, right in the beginning, I hit a right hook that rocked, put him on skates. And man, I fumbled that one. So stupid from my perspective. I was even like moving and I was like, man, this guy can't hit me. And you never want to think that. You never want to get too safe in a fight. One of my boys had a title fight recently, an amateur fight. In between rounds 4 and 5, I'm like, Sean, we are celebrating nothing. We have won nothing until that bell rings at the end of round 5. I was like, so I need your your last round to be your best round, your safest round. He was like, yes, sir. So now every time when my boys are up, going into the third, I like am on their ass. And to be fair, Coach Safe was on my ass. I got a little too comfortable in an uncomfortable setting, and it bit me in the ass. Thankfully, thank you for Dana White. Got my win bonus, got a new contract. But again, I'd rather have the win on my record than that money. But I mean, whatever. That's not how it works. So I was thankful for what I was given, and I will not make that mistake 2 times.
For sure. Experiences. I talked to a lot of fighters about that. Experience is just so important in the highest level. And you fought on short notice at 180 pounds. Did you feel much better at 180 pounds? How did you feel?
Just because it was so short notice. I mean, like, it was Monday, so this is how my Monday's going. In camp, out of camp, whatever. I wake up at 7:30, I eat, I lift, I go to the gym and clean, I teach jujitsu class, and then I hit mitts, and then I go home and take a nap. And I'm like laying down to take my nap, and some kid from the UK pings me on Instagram, and he's like, Alex Morono should step in to take Robbie Lawler's fight. And I looked at it and I was like, I should. So I called my coach, call Coach Safe. I'm like, Coach, I'm always training. I felt sharp. And like, it was just Thanksgiving. I was a little heavier than normal, a little bit. I stepped on the scale. I was like 195. And I was like, let him know in a week I can make 170. Like, because there was a fight night next. And then he calls me back, talks to Sean. He's like, Morono, how light can you get? I was like, I can make 180 come Friday. That was 4 days. And sure enough, man, had no problem making the weight. If I had any more time, I could have made 170.
Yeah, man, it's it was incredible to go in there and see you perform. Like, in this sport, it's little mistakes can have huge costs, and that's what is an example of. And you're riding a 4-fight win streak as well. Do you feel like you're gonna have to start again fresh, or is that just a speed bump in the road?
No, man, I've always been a consistency guy with activity. And like, my plan is to win fights. Like, when I got signed to the UFC, I was like, my goal is 10 fights. And then I was like, my goal is 20 fights, which is coming up soon, but no longer fights. My goal now is 20 wins. And then once I hit win number 20, then I'll make a new win goal. But like, in the sport, winning is everything. The streak was nice, but a bit trivial. I still got a streak at welterweight, which is cool because that was a catch weight. So like, even in the UFC stats, I'm on still a 4-fight win streak in the welterweight class. But like, to me, my streak was broken, and I'm just looking to put another streak together. And I'll tell you, thankfully, that was my 5th win bonus in a row. I love those win bonuses. Now, man, I'm like, 5 or 6 contracts deep. Those win bonuses, they make a difference. They make like a yearly income difference. So winning is everything in the sport. Like, for me, and even on the martial arts side, not the financial side, winning is the only goal.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that fight wasn't at welterweight, so it really, in some ways, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things of like going up in the rankings in welterweight.
So yeah, I think Jack Mandolina fought, and it was like, it showed like a list of welterweight winning streaks, and I was on that list. I was like, I think in 2nd place. And I took a picture and sent it to my strength coach, Matt Wall. I was like, the streak lives on. So, dude, if the UFC counts it, I'll take it. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure, man. And training camp, it's always a mix for you. You have your own gym, then you have Fortis, and then you have War. How did you mix that stuff up? Like, how did you, separate your time? I mean, evenly.
So, man, one thing I love about Coach Safe, he understands that I run a gym in Houston with Gracie Barra, the Woodlands MMA. Been around since 2007. I've been coaching there since 2012, owning it since 2015. And that's my business. It's a big gym, 7,000 square feet, like hundreds of members. We're doing well. We had a tournament on Saturday. We had over 70 people compete, like a bunch of kids, but a lot of adults too. Did excellent. So he knows like that gym takes a lot of my time. So I go to Dallas at the beginning of each week. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow, train hard Tuesday, train hard Wednesday, come home, rest a little bit, and then like Thursday, that's when I hit my cross train with my boys at War. And then Friday, Saturday back home with my boys, and then the process repeats. So it's a really good dynamic system. Going up to Dallas, working with Coach Safe and all those guys up there, it's just the pacing is next level, the coaching is next level. It's cool being in that room, and then I come home, I get to work on the things I did well, the things I could work on with my coaches, and then I get some other looks with the dudes at War. Trevin Giles is there. Joseph Holmes, they got a lot of pros. That's like probably the biggest team of pros and amateurs in Houston are the guys at War. So I got a lot of respect for those guys, always helping me out. And man, it's just a really good relationship of a group effort.
Yeah, and team means, man, he's a tall, long guy. Like, who's similar to that body type that you're sparring?
So thankfully, there's a lot of really good southpaws at Fortis. And then there's guys around town. I got one amateur on our team. He's good. He's crafty. He wrestled. He's a good striker. Done kickboxing matches. He'll be fighting MMA here pretty soon. But he's the same height, same build, southpaw. Loves to scrap. So he's my main guy. He's like young, so he's quick and real technical. So he's been my main dude. Jaden McKinnon. He'll actually be in my corner. He's gonna be my warm-up guy. But yeah, there's a lot of good southpaws. Like Jeff Neal's been awesome to work with. He's so sharp. he and Tim are built different, but like Jeff's so fast, and cuts angles and hits so hard. Like if I can do okay with Jeff, I feel like I can do okay with any southpaw. And there's a guy named Julius Holmes as well. He's actually headlining a Fury card this Sunday. And he'll be in the UFC soon enough. I think he's like 7-1, maybe 7-2 as a pro. He's solid, man. He's physical. And so I've been getting nothing but good looks over there.
Facing a southpaw, man. You said you enjoy that. What's there to enjoy about that? I actually like to spar southpaws as well.
Yeah, so right before I got signed to the UFC in 2015 was like my dynamite year. I had a pro kickboxing match against a guy named Lucas Pimenta. He was a Brazilian brawler. 8-2 as an MMA pro, first kickboxing debut. I remember I got that matchup for my kickboxing debut, and I was like, shit, that's not an easy fight. Mick Maynard was the matchmaker. I took it. He was a southpaw. I ended up breaking his arm with a round kick. But I sparred with so many southpaws. Anytime I have an opponent who I feel is dangerous, like Tim Means, like Lucas Pimenta, I like over prepare. And man, I got my rounds in. I found every southpaw in Houston and I sparred with them religiously. And I got so comfortable. That was 2015. And ever since then, I have my fun southpaw tricks. Tim will switch it up a bit. I kind of hope he goes ortho a little bit. I'm just so comfortable fighting orthos too. But like I expect like the best southpaw out of Tim Means. And they have their differences, but I feel like I've just done my due diligence in getting my reps in, getting my technique in against those left-handed fighters.
And also he's long as well, you know what I mean, tall, like he's very stoic in his stance as well, you know what I mean? Like getting in close with that, is that a challenge that you like as well?
Yes, but with him, no, because Tim will get in your face, man. If you like bounce around and move backwards, he will get in your shit. So no, this is a fight where I'm like looking to meet in the middle, but hold my ground. He's like, I'm gonna hit him with some young wolf tactics. He's like the old lion, I'm the young wolf. I'm gonna try to, I'm not that young though, but I'm gonna hit him with some young wolf moves. That's the plan.
So basically, in this fight, you expect to have a stand-up war with Tim Means.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope so. I think so, but no expectations is the best expectation. I'm thinking he's gonna wrestle. I may wrestle. You never know. But I expect it to go everywhere. I would love to do some jiu-jitsu. All the guys I train with, I do so much jiu-jitsu. At my gym alone, we got like 20 black belts, and they're all like, I'll roll with them. We'll have good rounds. I got one good second-degree black belt. Did some like IBJJF no-gi stuff. Won some gold medals at like Brown. A guy named Lou, he's awesome. He's like, why don't you grapple? And I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like, you should grapple. You're so good. I'm like, all right, maybe we'll see. But I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've never felt more confident in my jiu-jitsu and even my wrestling. I teach a lot of wrestling in my jiu-jitsu classes. I feel like that's a neglected part of the martial art. And like, I don't know if you've done jiu-jitsu, but like there's cycles. Like when I started, it was like closed guard. Then it was all like the standing open guards. Then it was leg locks. Now it's wrestling. It's like whatever's being used in like IBJJF tournaments and in ADCCs and all the submission onlys, like that's what like the meta is. And like I'll see it, it's cyclical. And like it's cool because ADCC was so wrestling heavy. There's all the no-gi sub-only matches. There's a lot of wrestling involved. So like it's nice that like jiu-jitsu is finally getting its like wrestling due diligence. So it's cool because it like the submission only no-gi and like the MMA like techniques are finally crossing paths. So I feel like a guy like myself, like my time and place has come in the jiu-jitsu world and in the MMA world.
I see what you mean about the jiu-jitsu. Like you do go through your phases. Like I remember going through like a straight up lockdown phase when I was just like, I'm gonna get into lockdown. You know, like there was that era, right?
There sure was. That was a while back. That was maybe like 10, 12 years ago. It was like closed guard, half guard, lockdown, open guard, spider guard, like De La Hiva. And then like all the lapel guards. That's when Kino Cornelius was in. And then like the Donahair boys came through and everyone was leg locking everybody. And then guys got good at leg lock defense. And now we're wrestling again. And like closed guard has made a comeback. It's cool.
Why hasn't anybody been able to like extend their streak of leg lock submissions? You know what I mean? In MMA, have people figured it out? Like, you know what I mean? Like you just need to defend a certain way. And then because of the punches that you could throw from certain positions that you just can't hang on.
So I was giving a talk to my team because we got some good leg lockers. And like, dude, I got a leg lock game or two up in my tool belt. But Ryan Hall, who I admire tremendously, and Gary Tonin fought Tan Lee. Ryan Hall fought Ilya, and they both ended up getting you know, finished on bottom looking for leg locks. And I was like, guys, those are the best in the world. Those are the best guys on the planet. And like, it didn't work out for them. Can it work? Absolutely. But are there risks? Absolutely. So I said, like, let this be a lesson. There's a time and a place for these techniques. But sometimes if you force them, or if they're expected, you're going to get hit with a big old stinky counter. And that's what happens. So, and like, the only reason I use Tonin and Hall as examples, because those guys are the best in the world. And if they can get hit with that, you know, counter, then anyone can. So again, like, every move has a time and place. Make sure they are, you know, utilized appropriately.
You never know. We might see you throwing a leg lock.
Hey,
So
man,
never know.
or depends on the position.
Yeah. Who's the best leg locker in MMA history? Is it Paul Harris? Maybe Frank Mir? I don't. Who is it?
Man,
It's hard, huh?
Ryan Hall up there.
Yeah.
Heel hooks. Gary Tonin, he's not experienced enough yet. And when I say that, like, he hasn't had enough fights in MMA yet. Honestly, Paul Harris, that dude's crazy. He's bad for the sport. I'm gonna go with Ryan Hall because he's the homie.
Okay. May 13th, man, UFC Fight Night, Charlotte, North Carolina. Everybody go follow Alex on social media. Thank you so much, man, for the time as always, and all the best in this fight. Yeah, it's gonna be a wild one, man. It's a fight night, you know what I mean? Fight of the night. Let's get it.
Yeah, and they gave us the opening spot on the main card. I am honored.
Exactly.
I'm gonna throw down. That's my job. That's my goal.
Yeah, man. They've been putting you on in front of crowds every single time, so you know they know what they get out of you.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm glad. They're paying, and so I'm gonna make sure they get their worth.